Clayton Varjassy here again with Cottonwood Records. I just finished sitting down with the Lethbridge born and raised singer-songwriter Alyssa McQuaid for an interview. Check it out. So I guess let's start by talking about your career path, where you started and where you're at now and all the in-between.
Well, I started playing piano when I was really little. So my mom got a piano from my great-grandma, and we took a lot of, piano lessons when I was really young. And I started getting interested in more of the guitar and singer-songwriter thing when I was a teenager. When I was in high school, I started playing in a band with my younger brother. We used to do it through Notable Music. So they would set up these bands and put kids together, and I always played in a band with my brother. And we started writing music, and we had a lot of fun doing that. And I performed for the school a couple of times. My drama teacher from high school, Sharon Pete, she always tells this story about we were doing this radio play. So basically you had to go behind a screen and pretend you were on the radio. So there was a group of us pretending we were on the radio. I had brought my guitar to school that day, and I was really a shy kid and really quiet. But we're behind the screen, and then they said they were gonna start playing music. So then I started singing, and I played Sweet Child of Mine. And she said she had to go behind the screen and see who it was. And it's one of her favorite stories. And that's really kind of where I guess it all started for me, was at that time in my life. After high school, so I went up to Calgary and I did vocal lessons with Brian Farrell in Calgary. And then I did some recording up in Calgary as well with Dave Hamilton. So that was my first album, which is called Who I Am. And then after that, continued performing just sort of around Southern Alberta for a bunch of different things. At that time, I was always writing songs that were about other people. So I'd write other people's stories. So for example, there's a song on that album that I really like. It's called Run Girl. And it was about a woman that I had met who was running away from an abusive relationship. And then when I decided to start recording This Is Your Song, which is the album that I recorded in Nashville, I met up with my producer in Calgary, Josh Gwilliam, and he really encouraged me to start telling my own stories. So it was at that time when I started actually writing songs that came from my own personal stories. And so most of that album is written from stories that have happened to me in my life, and he kind of helped guide me in the right direction of, where these stories could come from and things like that. So Dear Diary is from personal experience. New Mistakes is from personal experience. This Is Your Song was actually a song that I wrote specifically because my husband, Drew, he was like, oh, you've never written a song about me. Where's my song? So I wrote that one and actually called it This Is Your Song. So that one was written for him, which ended up being the title track of the album. And now I'm playing with my band, Coyote Junction, as well, which has been a lot of fun. A group of teachers that I met at Chinook High School 2 years ago now, I guess. And we've been playing together quite a bit too, so that's been a lot of fun. And here we are now.
So what would you say the biggest difference is writing from other people's perspectives and experiences versus writing from your own perspectives and experiences?
It's more like reading your diary to the world. It's tough. That was my biggest struggle, I think, with actually moving to the point where I was writing songs about my own experience versus other people's, was that it was like, oh, well, this is my story. But what if people don't like my story? Whereas other people's stories, it's like, well, I know I liked their story, so, I know other people will, but it's always that kind of fear. I think that's the most challenging part, so.
You talked about your roots kind of being in high school when you really got into the singer-songwriter stuff. And now you're a teacher in high school. Yeah. What's that like coming full circle?
It's different. It's really interesting because right now I'm working at LCI, which is the school I graduated from too. So I really try to bring the experiences that I had in high school and offer those to my students. So I know I did a lot of stuff. We used to do LCI Unplugged or Live at Lunch and things like that. So we had lots of opportunities to be able to, showcase our talents and things like that. So like bringing you guys in today to have some students, showcase their talents and stuff was just really cool. And I like trying to offer those things to my students that I had the opportunities to do when I was a kid. So
yeah, for sure. They're cool experiences, that
Yeah.
you don't always get in high school.
Yeah.
Cool. And you're an avid runner
Yes.
in the city of Lethbridge here.
Yeah.
And I noticed on your Facebook page, actually I have a photo here, you're dressed up for this run.
Yes.
As
Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. My husband and I, actually, the first time we ever did the Disney races, I've always been a really big fan of Disney, but I'd never been to Disneyland or Disney World. And I had also never run a marathon, like a full marathon. At the time I was running halves and I was like, oh, that's fine. I don't want to run anything more than that. But then somebody, I can't remember if it was him or me, had the idea of running a marathon in Disney World, and that would be our honeymoon. So we actually flew to Disney World in Florida to run my first marathon for our honeymoon. And the Disney races are just like so fun. You get to hang out with all the characters while you're running. In Disney World for the marathon, they actually have one of the rides open too. So if you really want to, you can get on the ride and ride it and then get off and then keep running. But I was like, if I sit down,
Cool.
I'm not gonna get back up.
Yeah.
So we've done the marathon twice. We did the Dopey Challenge last year, which is you go and you run the 5K on Thursday, the 10K on Friday, the half marathon on Saturday, and the full marathon on Sunday. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's they're so fun. And then we just did that one was the Avengers half marathon in Disneyland in November. So we wanted to do Disney World and Disneyland in the same year so that we get our Coast to Coast medal, which is another great thing about the Disney races. And when you run for the bling like I do,
Yeah.
it's totally worth it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So does everyone dress up for those Disney ones?
Yeah, most people do. So usually I go the princess vibe, but this time we wanted to. I finally convinced Drew to actually dress up with me. So he's Woody in that picture, and we had a total blast. And he was like, I finally understand why you like dressing up when you run, because everybody's like, oh, hey, Buzz and Woody. So they all comment on you and they're cheering for you, and you're like, oh, I know they're cheering for me. They're not just saying, go runners.
Yeah, that's
so,
sweet.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in. You can find Alyssa McQuaid on Twitter, iTunes, Facebook, and YouTube at Alyssa McQuaid. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook at Cottonwood Records. Thanks for watching.